Okay, main idea question. The painter Maria Izquierdo played an important role in the development of 20th century Mexican art. But her work has never been well known in the United States, except among art historians. One reason for Izquierdo's relative obscurity is the enormous popularity of some of her peers. In particular, painters Frida, of course, and Diego Rivera, of course, have so captivated the interest of U.S. audiences that Izquierdo and other Mexican artists from the period often get overlooked, despite the high quality of their work. Okay, so what's the main idea here? Is a really talented, important artist from Mexico that gets overlooked in the United States because everybody focuses on Frida and Diego Rivera, the muralist, all the time, and she got, the short stick, so to speak, as did some other excellent Mexican artists. So, A, Izquierdo's work is not well known in the United States, as it should be, because Kahlo and Rivera draw so much of the public's attention. That's true. It's not as well known in the US, and the other famous artists draw a lot of the attention. So I'm going to hold on to that one. That may well be it. Best main idea. During Izquierdo's lifetime, her paintings were displayed in galleries in the US much more frequently than Kahlo and Rivera. Well, that's not true. Clearly, that's wrong. That's false. And by the way, it says nothing about that, right? So it does say the others, Frida and Diego Rivera, were much more popular. So you assume they were more displayed in US galleries. C. Izquierdo painted some of the same subjects that Kahlo and Rivera painted, but used different techniques than they used. That may be true, but again, not in there. Few of Izquierdo's works are in galleries today because she produced only a small number of paintings. We don't know anything about how many paintings she produced. It didn't say that. A is the correct answer. She's not as well known as she should be in the US because Diego Rivera and Frida, that's what you think of when you think Mexican artist. Okay, we've got what's really an explicit detail question in this case, and we specifically need to find the choice that best describes Gibson's approach to art. Okay, so how does the text present Gibson's approach to art? Let's take a look. Choctaw Cherokee artist Jeffrey Gibson turns punching bags used by boxers into art by decorating them with beadwork and elements of native dressmaking. Okay, punching bag, like a punching bag, like Rocky going on the punching bag. Maybe, okay. That's a terrible punching bag, sorry. These elements include leather fringe and jingles, the metal cones that covered the dresses worn in the jingle dance, women's dance to the Ojibwe people. Thus, not sure why Gibson's doing all this, but he's definitely making these punching bags ornate. No Rocky going on here. Thus, Gibson combines an object commonly associated with masculinity, a punching bag, with art forms traditionally practiced by women. Okay, so he's building a contrast between the masculine and the feminine here. I get it. In this way, he rejects the division of male and female gender roles. Okay. All right. Got it. So what is the description of his artwork? He uses a masculine object, a punching bag. He decorates it with women's dressing from his native tribe and group. And the idea here is to juxtapose those two and reject male and female gender roles. They're not separate. They're all one piece of art, apparently. So he draws from traditional native art forms to create his original works. Well, he does do that, but that's not really, that's too vague. Not really too broad. It's just too vague, I think. Let's keep going. He has been influenced by native and non-native artists. I don't know who influenced him. Nothing in here says who influenced Gibson. He finds inspiration from boxing in designing the dresses. No, he's not a dressmaker who finds inspiration from boxing. That is definitely mixing up the facts. Another very popular wrong answer choice. Okay. He rejects expectations about color and pattern when incorporating beadwork. Do not know that. Nothing says that. He rejects the male and female gender roles. So actually, I thought A was too vague. It's the only answer that could fit. He draws from traditional native art forms to create his traditional or original works of art. That is the main idea. I might include what makes it interesting, which is the fact that he's combining male and female kind of objects to reject gender roles. But I guess they don't include that in the, it's not a main idea question, right? It's all about Gibson's approach to art. So, okay, that makes it a little better. A is the answer. Okay, here we have a main idea question. NASA's Aspera mission, led by Carlos Vargas, will investigate the circumgalactic medium, which is what? The huge swaths of low-density gas that fill and surround galaxies. Okay, so he has a mission, this guy Vargas, to investigate the low-density gases that are in and around galaxies. Okay, so if you have a galaxy, wow, this is not just solar system, this is like a whole Milky Way galaxy type thing. So here's my terrible drawing of the Milky Way, right? But so in that, there's all kinds of gas in here, low density gas. Okay, so specifically the team will focus on portions of the gas that exist in a warm-hot phase. These portions, so warm gas particularly, these portions haven't previously been observable, but are thought to fuel new star formation and hold most of the mass that makes up a galaxy. So actually this gas, the warm gas, is theorized to create stars and be the most massive part of the galaxy? Wow. Okay, that's interesting. Using a telescope capable of revealing these parts of the GCM, the Aspera mission should help answer long-standing questions about how galaxies emerge, change, and interact. Okay, so what's the main idea? There's a study to study the gases in galaxies, and there's some kind of hypothesis or claim that new star formation and most of the mass is there. So with new equipment, we're hopefully going to answer some of those questions, okay? And maybe prove or help support that claim. So as the leader of NASA's Aspera mission, Vargas will be the first person to investigate the makeup of CGM. We have no idea if he's the first person, right? It just says he will lead this mission. Okay, so that's not right. B, although galaxies that are surrounded by the CGM have been studied, researchers have been unable to directly observe low-density gas in the warm-hot phase. Well, that's true. I mean, specifically, these portions haven't previously been observable. So, although galaxies are surrounded by that, have been studied, well, did it really say there are any studies other than this? It doesn't really say that. That's just not in the passage, believe it or not. So it seems like something that would be, but I'm just reading it again. I don't see that in the passage. So this part is true. They've not been able to directly observe it in the phase. So I think this is wrong, but let's hold a question mark on that. C, researchers don't yet have a complete understanding of the process of galaxy evolution. Well, that is an inference, but definitely a true inference based on the need for this study, but have raised the possibility that galaxies interact with each other at times. Is the main idea that they interact with each other? We also care about the emergence and changes of galaxy, maybe even less so the interaction. So again, I'm going to put a question mark and an X on that one. The Aspera mission, D, is expected to produce the first direct observations of CDM gas in the warm-hot phase. Well, yeah, that's right. It is the first. That might seem extreme, but it haven't been previously observed, which means this is, in fact, going to be the first, which likely has an important role in the evolution. Yes, it does have a role in the evolution. It tells us, well, galaxies, how do they emerge, right? And it's going to help us learn about or maybe support our theories that it leads to new star formation. It holds most of the mass of the galaxy. These are important discoveries if we can find them. D is going to be the answer. We have a main idea question here. Let's read the paragraph. Many intellectual histories of the Black Power movement of the 60s and 70s rely heavily on essays and other explicitly ideological works as primary sources. Essays, ideological work. So intellectual histories of the Black Power movement. Okay? A tendency that can overrepresent the perspectives of a small number of thinkers, most of whom are male. Okay? Interesting. The claim here, this is a claim, and the claim is that male sort of ideologists are overwhelming with their essays and their works. They're overrepresenting the perspective of the Black Power movement in the 60s and 70s. Okay, so historian Ashley Farmer has shown that expanding the array of primary sources to encompass more types of material, including political cartoons, advertisements, artwork, leads to a much better understanding of the movement and the crucial and diverse roles that Black women played in shaping it. Okay? So we have to look at other sources and get a better idea of how Black women fit into this power movement at the time. So that's really the main idea. Let's see what option matches. Farmer's methods and research have enriched the historical understanding of the Black Power movement and Black women's contributions to it. So she has shown that expanding to encompass more leads to a better understanding. So that's not even in question. It's just said there. So my only concern about this one is that enriched, and that evidence is enriched. Yes, that's in the text. That's good. Her methods are to examine different types of material. It's all about the Black Power movement and the women's contribution. This is really good. I'm going to check A and hold on to it for a moment as we read B and C and D, but likely correct. B, before Farmer's research, historians had largely ignored the intellectual dimensions of the Black Power movement. Well, no, they definitely ignored part of, well, it didn't say they ignored, it just says the other parts of the movement were overrepresented. That's not the same as ignored, actually. And the intellectual dimensions, well, no, because most of their work was intellectual. They're actually non-intellectual, perhaps other dimensions. So it's not really about intellectual dimensions either. That's what was overrepresented, not what Farmer had to change. So B looks wrong. C, certainly relative to A, no doubt. C, other historians of the Black Power movement have criticized Farmer's use of unconventional. No, we don't know anything about other historians, just not in the passage at all. That's wrong. D, the figures in the Black Power movement, whom historians tend to cite, would have agreed with Farmer's conclusion about women's roles in the... How do we know that? We have no idea. That's just, again, not in the passage. I don't know what they would have agreed or disagreed with. A is the correct answer. Her methods and research showed an expanding, much better understanding of the movement, which means it enriched our understanding of the Black Power movement and women's contributions to it. That's the answer. Another main idea question prompt. In many of his sculptures, artist Richard Hunt uses broad forms rather than extreme accuracy to hint at specific people or ideas. So he likes to use broad, not accurate. Okay? In his first major work, Arachne, Hunt constructed the mythical character Arachne, a weaver who was changed into a spider by welding bits of steel together into something that, although vaguely human, is strange and machine-like. So it's kind of machine-like, it's kind of human, but it's vaguely so. So it's broad, it's not accurate. And his large bronze sculpture, The Light of Truth, commemorates activist and journalist Ida Wells, using mainly flowing, curved pieces of metal that create stylized flame. So the idea of the light of truth, we get this idealized flame, but it's not necessarily a flame. It's some kind of stylized form of a flame. Again, broadly the idea and shapes, not specific, not accurate, not like a portraiture or anything like that. So that's the main idea. What answer matches? He often depicts the subjects of his sculptures using an unrealistic style. Unrealistic? I don't know. I'm going to hold on to that for a second. Just keep going. Not sure that's right. It's broad. It's vaguely something, but would we characterize that as unrealistic according to the text? I mean, technically it is not realistic, so it's not like a portrait. So it is unrealistic. It is unrealistic. I'm not sure we would say that though. So he uses different kinds of materials depending on what kind of sculpture he plans to create. True. Too narrow. Not the main idea. Okay. That is evidence provided with the examples, not a main idea, right? The main idea is how he uses broad sculptures to represent the things he wants to show. C, he tends to base his art on important historical figures rather than fictional characters. Do we know that? I mean, he does in the examples. Ida Wells, Hunt created the myth. No, it's a mythical character. So on important historic, rather than, no, that's absolutely false. He created a mythical character. False to the text. So be careful of the explicit details. That's just not right. Okay, B and C look wrong. How about D? He has altered his approach to sculpture over time. We have no idea what he's done over time. This is just a snapshot. They gave us a couple examples and a claim. Nothing says over time. And his works have become increasingly, I have no idea about that. A is correct. So I had some questions about unrealistic style, and admittedly, it's technically correct. I just wasn't sure it was the right idea. In fact, this is the only answer that incorporates the right potential idea.